Hey, good morning once again, and I'm back with one more video. And the topic that I'm dealing with today is qualities required to be a good PMO. So let us deep dive into the topic. Let's see. Okay, if you can see the heading, I have written qualities of in the bracket good PMO. So why good is in bracket? Yes, because that is what we all are targeting towards, to be a good PMO, not just be another PMO, right? So there are and mark the word that I'm using. It's a quality. I'm not saying the skill set required for being a good PMO. I would eventually come on to the skill set as well, but for today let's focus on the qualities that I really feel that any PMO, any good PMO should possess. So understanding the business, of course, and to understand the stakeholders requirements, to understand and to maintain a good tracking mechanism. So let's dive into these one by one. Okay, so when I say understanding business, what would I mean? I would mean that to understand what is that your business require out of you as a PMO, or your line of business, to be very more to be even more precise. What does your line of business require out of you if you are into the shoes of PMO? That is very important, or else what would you be delivering at the first place, right? Then to understand the governance structure, so that when in your school days, when you used to be the monitor, you had to understand what is the expectation of your class teacher when you're minding the class. Similarly, to understand what is the expectation of the organization and what are the governance requirements of the organization to even start acting as a PMO, right? uh, which all departments are impacted by your services, by your PMO services, right? So that is very important, because ultimately you're working for some people. You are into a support role. You're working for various stakeholders. I will come back to this one. And the and again, which all, this is very important, which all department are going to help you to run your show. Very important, right? So going ahead, this is the one which says understand the stakeholders requirement. Okay, now let's keep it very simple. If you can look into the diagram, if I call it that way, if you can look into the diagram properly, you see there is a project, there is management, and there is an office. Okay, the project is, of course, there is multiple project a PMO need to support to in various ways. What are these various ways? We will come on to it later. Probably I have discussed few of them in my previous videos, but we will have a specific session only for what are the various deliverables a PMO is supposed to um, do for his stakeholders. One, the management. Again, what you do is very much centric to the management. What is that the management desires out of you, or what type of reporting the management needs from you. So, and thirdly, the office. Okay, now focusing on understanding the requirement, I mean, you should really have your ears and your eyes open to what is that your understand one thing. A stakeholder would come to you because or she is in sheer need of some reports of or some services, which because of his busy schedule or his lack of expertise in that particular field, he is not able to do it himself or herself. That is the reason why he is looking at you with great hopes. So you have to understand very clearly what the stakeholders at that point of time needs from you. One more thing I would add to this is, one more dimension I would add is, if you design something for a particular stakeholder, it's a very good idea always to think that if the same thing can be reused for another set of stakeholders. In simpler word, call it a template. I mean, if you use something for a person, if that can be done in a format of a template, so that it's a reusable commodity, right? So that is very important. So once you start understanding the requirements, what type of requirements they come to you with, you would be in a state to deliver your services in a much better way. Going ahead, okay, now this to me is very very important. If you say that you are getting into a role of PMO. Now the first diagram or the first picture in the left, what you see, any guesses? Well, that's a Microsoft project plan, and of course that's a tracking mechanism for a particular project. A PMO does help the project management team with the tracking and updating and the planning of projects. So this is a very useful tool. The Microsoft project is a very useful tool. The picture in the center, it talks a lot. It's just a text, but it talks a lot. Create an Excel tracker. I mean, if because I mean it has a specific reason, because you have multiple projects to be governed, multiple projects to be reported. The health reporting has to be done for multiple projects. The financial reporting has to be done for multiple projects. So if you have a very good tracking mechanism in place, you would in turn be a very successful PMO. And when I say a good mechanism to track, it also should be a dynamic mechanism, that every commentary whichever comes from whichever source, it has to be captured in that in that particular tracker. And you have to try that all the commentaries, all the running commentaries that you capture, it has to be similar in format. A drop down is a very good is a very good example of keeping a consistent commentary. That can really help. I'm sure that I would get into a video which specifically talks about only tracker, how you can make a very good tracker for all your projects. I would come on with a specific video on this topic. The third video, the third picture which I have put in, it has a very specific thing that I want you to look into, which is the color combinations. Now what they do is, without even reading the text, right, you can understand, okay, which are the red ones which need at most importance or at most focus at that given point of time, so that you can firefight with the odds. If it's a green, yes, it still need to be captured and reported. But if it's a red, it needs to be captured, reported, and also worked upon. So color coding in the tracker is a very very essential things. So as I said at the starting of the video, that today I won't be talking about the competencies that is required. I'm just talking about the qualities which is required, not the tools which are required for a PMO, but the qualities that if you are good at understanding the business, understanding the requirements of your stakeholder, and track all these items very carefully to your best of abilities, I'm sure that you would be very successful in this trade. With that, thanks a lot, and if you have any comments or suggestion, I would be glad if you can drop it in the comment box. Thank you. Take care of yourselves.